It's called to order on our meeting in the town of Batesburg-Leesville. It's our regular council meeting. It is April the 12th, 2021, 7 p.m. at the beautiful Town Hall Complex in Batesburg-Leesville. At this time, I would like to invite Pastor Jim Huffnagel from Reconciliation Ministries to come up and give us our invocation, please. Pastor Jim.
Thank you. With the multitude of counsel, there's great wisdom. And I pray tonight, as important decisions are being made, that God, you would come, your Spirit would be present, and you would lead and you would guide the decisions that you would want made, and that your Spirit will pour blessings on Batesburg and Leesville, and that you would receive glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Pastor Jim. And stand for the pledge, led by Olin Gambra.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 4, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Ackross, do I have a second? Mr. Gambrell, do any discussion? District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The agenda has been approved. Item 5, adoption of the minutes from regular council meeting March the 8th, 2020. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Ms. Johnny? And was that right? Ms. Johnny, did you, Ms. Lemon? Yeah. There's a motion, Mr. Prowse, second. Any discussion? District 1?
District 1, yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Minutes from the motion, let's just say the motion passes, is adopted. And moving on to the minutes for the council work session on March 31st. Do I have a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt.
Mr. Gambrell, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Hall. Any discussion? District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4? District 4?
Yes.
Thank you. District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Adoption of the minutes for council work session, March 31, 2021 have passed. Item 6, mayor's report. The next regular council meeting will be May the 10th, 2021. Council committees report, Central Midlands COG, Councilmember Hall.
Council, the COG Council did meet on March the 25th. We did have a quorum. We adopted the first 3 items we adopted all the items on the consent agenda. And then the rest of the meeting, unfortunately, was taken up with presentation on Lower Saluda Greenway. We called for an adjournment, which was delayed at the request of the director of the comment system to consider funding for their intermodal station, which will be located somewhere downtown. This is in the minutes, in the recap that I presented to council. Our next meeting will be April the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Environmental Planning Advisory Committee, Mr. Prowse.
DPAC has not yet met this month. The next scheduled meeting is the 21st of April, next Wednesday.
Thank you. Item 3, the Comment Advisory Committee, Mr. Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The comment has met. We have we have our director has resigned, so we have an acting director in this place at this time. So we're working through some things as a board. I'm on the finance committee, and everything looks very good. Thank you, Bob, for the money that's coming from Central Midlands to the comment. And hopefully, Ted, are we on track to have that our portion of the comic paid. Where are we with that?
Well, that was a part of the presentation at the work session, and it appeared everybody was on board, so I think it's just waiting for those funds to come in.
All right, great. I'm excited. I'm gonna take the bus to Columbia for no good reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Joint Municipal Water and Sewer Commission, last meeting, the general manager talked a little bit about the current preliminary engineering report at the Columbia plant for upgrades there is underway, along with expansion of a potential new plant on Countsburg Road. Tank construction behind Lowe's Food will start very soon on 378. And a notice will be going out in the next couple of days. The geotechnical work is going to be done, some core drilling on land and water. And that's set to launch next week. Over the next month to determine the best place for an intake for their new plant. Basically to ensure a grant is there. And that's all related to the master planning for that site. And next up is PL Chamber of Commerce update from President Mike Taylor. Mr. Mike.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Town Council. In February, the General Assembly passed a resolution signed by the governor requiring DHEC to divide the state into 4 health regions to disperse the COVID-19 vaccine. The percent of available vaccine to each region will be determined on a per capita basis. Other criteria are the number of people who are minorities, have diabetes, high blood pressure, the poverty level, the 2-week incident rate, and percent unvaccinated. DHEC has formed 4 CARES panels in the 4 regions. I've been asked and accepted to serve on the Midlands panel. I attended a Zoom meeting April the 1st with DHEC officials and other regional panel members to receive basic information. It is my understanding from the first meeting that the regional panels will help DHEC identify gaps, help engage the community, and suggest where resources need to go. My first regional meeting is this Friday. We are a public body, so all agendas and meetings will be posted on the DHEC website. I would appreciate and need your ears and eyes in the community and outside the community. If you hear things where people need a mobile unit brought or whatever, I need that information so I can give that information when we have our regional meetings. I understand that we have so many people in this community that need the vaccine that don't get the information because they're not involved with the internet and other avenues of paper and so forth. How we reach those, I hope I get some indication in these meetings, a better way. If you go through the ministerial lines, you only, reaching so many members. I know it's more than maybe that you're not reaching in the internet. But those avenues, I'd appreciate your input and so forth in the future. At our last Chamber Board meeting, County Councilman Larry Brigham gave us some information on permitting, on residential permitting. I thought I would share that with you today. I think he said normally in the past when he was elected, he received maybe 1, 2, or possibly 3 permit requests, and a lot of times that was just to add something to a present property. But he's getting 9, 10, 11 now, and the request that he informed us on was at Spring Hill Road for 427 lots on 101 acres, Windy Hill Road for 22 lots on 13 acres, and Peak Festival Road for 53 lots on 20 acres. And I bring this up because we have a lot of growth between Gilbert coming this way and us, and it's going to help our businesses and our community, and it's certainly growth is coming this way, which is a great thing for the Batesburg-Leesville area. The Chamber will host the South Carolina Poetry Festival Chamber Golf Tournament on Friday, May the 8th. We will also be hosting a sock hop, a 50s event where we'll have the best dressed people of that show up that day in other contests. There will be door prizes and so forth. We also have the Peachtree Yard Sale coming through our community on Friday and Saturday, June the 4th and 5th. I appreciate it. Are there any questions?
Mr. Taylor, is there a threshold for the DHEC mobile unit?
Is there what?
Threshold number, how many?
Not to my knowledge. That stuff, Councilman, I'll find out in our Zoom meeting on that type of information, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Mr. Judy, do we have any public comments this evening? All right. No unfinished business, so we'll move forward to new business. And the first item on new business is a resolution honoring the life of former Mayor Clavy Edmonds. And whereas the Batesburg-Leesville Town Council recognizes and commends the life of service of Clavy Cecil Edmond to his country, state, and most especially his hometown of Batesburg-Leesville. And whereas Mr. Edmond was a 1966 graduate of Twin City High School, and whereas Mr. Edmond served his country honorably during the Vietnam War as part of the United States Marine Corps, and whereas Mr. Edmond was elected to the Leesville Town Council in 1984 and served 5 years on the Batesburg-Leesville Town Council. And whereas Mr. Edmond was elected as the first African-American mayor of Batesburg-Leesville in 1997 and served until 2001. And whereas Mr. Edmond was instrumental in the creation of the Batesburg-Leesville Industrial Park, oversaw expansion of the town's water and sewer systems and fire department, as well as establishing a ministerial advisory board and youth council. And whereas Mr. Edmond was a 2000 graduate of the South Carolina Mayor's Institute for Community Design. And whereas Mr. Edmond was a loving husband to Jessie for 50 years and dedicated mentor to his 4 children, 10 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of Batesburg-Leesville pause in its celebration of the life of Clavy Cecil Edmond on his passing at the age of 72 on March 25th, 2021. We could pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Ms. Jessie.
Thank you all on behalf of the
And to just do the paperwork on that, if I could have a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Mr. Gambrell, do I have a second? Second, Ms. Lemon. Any discussion? District 1?
District 1, yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6? District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
Yes, yes, there we go. And I vote yes, the resolution has been adopted. Thank you, Ms. Jessie, and thank you. Moving on to item B, under new business. This is approval of Board of Zoning Appeal appointments for District 7 and 8 as put in our packet.
Just for clarification, planning commission.
Sir?
Planning commission appointments, just for clarification, not board of zoning appeals.
Oh, thank you. Do I have a motion based off of what was in the packet?
So moved.
Can we get something a little more exact?
So moved, we approved to mention the District 7 and 8.
If we could, underneath the recommendation on the white paper, where we recommended the appointments of Ms. Morgan for District 8 and Mr. Trotter for District 7, just to clarify.
Mr. Gabrielli,
Yes, sir.
is that your motion, sir?
That's my motion.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Etheridge, any discussion? District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
District 3 votes yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passed. Item C, first reading, ordinance to amend hospitality tax budget. Do I have a motion by anyone from the pack?
What's in the budget?
Is there a motion?
To amend the hospitality.
This is the first reading ordinance to amend the hospitality tax budget that was in our packet.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr.
I
Prowse.
move that we approve the amendment to the hospitality tax budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 to add the property purchase at 534 West Church Street in an amount of $155,000, also including an additional up to $3,045 for closing costs for the property.
Motion by Mr. Prowse. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Wise. Any discussion?
Ted, we're gonna get the
Mr.
contract.
Kane?
We're gonna get the contract, right? The offer and the contracts for all the properties that we are purchasing.
The contract all been approved, and we're gonna close hopefully the next couple of weeks on the last piece.
Right, so we're gonna get the copy of the offer and the agreement to sell, right? For all the properties. For Jones,
Are you referencing council or?
This is appropriating.
I don't-
This is appropriating the funds to purchase. And the contract's already done. We already did the contract.
okay, so
Right. Go ahead, Ms. Kane.
I'm
Question?
trying to speak English.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Are we gonna get the copies of the contracts, the offer and the contracts for the properties that we are purchasing?
The town has it.
All right, then what, can we get council, I mean, I don't know if anybody else want a copy, but I'd like to see the offer that was made and the contract, the final contract for what we are purchasing.
I could certainly send them out to all of council.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, that's all I asked for, I mean,
We presented them each time and they've been approved, but I can certainly send them out. That's not
we just
a
wanna make sure that what we agreed to was what's in the final
Okay.
contract, that's all.
Oh, great. Any other discussion? District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yeah.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The first reading ordinance to amend the hospitality tax budget has passed. First reading ordinance to rezone property located at 406 East Columbia Avenue, consisting of 0.63 acres from C1 General Commercial to C2 C2 Transitional Commercial. This is TMS number 006027-04-011.
With the pack though.
Was Pat going to introduce, or did she want to?
I can introduce it.
If you would, please.
Okay. Mr. Leon, the property owner, this is the house that sits beside San Jose's Mexican restaurant. He is looking to, he purchased the property and wants to use it for office space for the San Jose business, but he would also like to use it for his residence as well. Under C1, he cannot stay in the house and use it as a residence, but he could use it for the office. But he's looking to do both out of it. So he made his request to rezone it from C1 to C2 transitional commercial. Planning Commission did meet on February 15th, and they recommended the council vote. They recommended approval to council.
So he wants to live in it and work out of it.
Correct.
Mr. Gambrell?
What does he intend to do in the back? Is that gonna be a?
Well, let's make this part of our discussion before, thank you, Mr. Luckady, for introducing it. If I could have a motion for this first reading to rezone it, and then we'll get a second, and then we'll go into discussion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
For the purpose of discussion.
And Mr. Gambrell, second? Okay, now we're open for discussion. Mr. Gambrell?
What does he intend to do in the back section of his property? Make it a junkyard or?
I don't think the junkyard is permissible.
I don't think it is, but that's what it's got now.
His sister Havina is here as the agent speaking on behalf of the request. But I did make, this may help you all make your decision, I did make a copy of the C1 district regulations and a copy of the C2 district regulations, if you all would like to have a copy to review. I know that I was asked about if there could have been, and let's see, about the residents in C1. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jay.
So we can do this because it's on here.
Well, no, it's, I'll wait for everyone to get that paperwork before I answer anything.
And Ms. Mitchell, you have a question?
If you all would just take your copies that you were given and you have the C1 general commercial, and you'll see that the purpose is to provide a district for general commercial and related uses. And it goes on to tell you different information about what's typically in a C1 district. And if you would take note to C. Let's see what it says. Extension of commercial zoning via amendments to this ordinance should be made, principally for the provision of planned unified commercial areas and not in a way. But that's speaking of C1. But what C1 will give you is what things under permitted principles and uses, those are the things that are permitted there now. And there's something I wanted to, but if you look at 7-5.3, it says permitted accessory uses and structures. It says that all uses permitted in the C2 office and institutional commercial district, excluding the residential use, are permitted. So currently, the way that it's zoned, residential uses, well, let me back up, because the zoning ordinance is a different animal. It does have at 7-4.5 as a permitted special exception, dwelling units provided all following conditions are met. Dwelling units must be on a level above the grade level floor. So it would have to be a 2-story building in order for a residence to be in C1. And dwelling units must have access to a street as required by building and fire codes. But that means it's on the 2nd floor, so it would have to have its separate entrance than what's on the lower floor. So it would have to have commercial on the lower floor and residences could be on the upper floor. But that's the only way that residences are permitted in C.
So that's the way it is now.
Exactly. You
Okay.
cannot have that as a residence because it's just a single.
So if we would change it to a C2, then he would be able to have his residence and everything there.
Well, if you were to change it to C2, then you would be able to have a single, 2-family, multi-family. You would be able to have a residence there. So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. My question, of course, was this is a very narrow request. It is for the right for a single individual to occupy that residence. Can this not be accomplished with a zoning variance in which we leave ourselves some latitude later without actually changing? I mean, it's been there since the original zoning laws went out, and it was used as a residence and lost that status. Is it possible that a zoning variance would be the instrument to be used here and grant him the specific right? Once you go to C2, I'm not questioning the integrity of the individual, but you could end up with a boarding house instead of. So I mean, we're using a shotgun here where we need to be a little more specific. And my single question is a zoning variance the instrument that should be used here for this purpose?
And the thing with the zoning variance, I find specifically where it states, but one thing that a variance cannot be used for is a use. You can change, individuals can request a variance based upon the topography of the property, or just say, if someone had a building and it was only set back 20 feet from the street, and the zoning ordinance says that a sign has to be set back 10 feet from the street, and someone felt, well, the 10 to, well, let's just say 15 feet back. If the structure was 15 feet back and the sign was 10 feet back, the individual may say, well, can I request to have the sign only 5 feet back because it would be too close to the structure? But in a variance, one of the things that you can't ask for in a variance is the change of the use. You can't ask for the use, and I will find that in just a minute for you.
If I may, within the zoning ordinance, it states that however, no variance may be granted for a use of land or building or structure that is prohibited within a given ordinance, or given district by an ordinance. So since our zoning is set by ordinance and it sets what the districts are, you can't do a variance to change within the district.
One last question. If we go C2, does this exempt, and he uses it as a residence or declares it as a residence, does this exempt him from the drainage, stormwater drainage requirements if he should decide to pave the lot?
No, stormwater requirements through the county go for any new pervious surface, whether it's residential or commercial. So if he would want to pave, he would have to go through Lexington County for that.
I gave you the copies of the ordinance because that way you all could see what the differences and likeness was, and then it may give you an idea. It's more about being compatible. Would the use be compatible? Did you all have any questions of Ms. Hamida? I know you had asked about the rear.
What is his intention for the rear of the property?
The rear property right now is used as parking lot. Like, we've always used that as parking lot, even though when the care project was there, who used to rent that out for us. But now that he bought the lot, it's just still parking lot for the business.
For the business? Okay.
And the main intention is an office,
Yes.
is what our packet says.
Yes,
Is that,
but he wanted to see if I could consider what's said on the application, hopefully.
Okay.
right,
Okay.
thank you. Any other discussion? First and second, and this is the first reading ordinance to rezone property located at 406 East Columbia Avenue consisting of 0.63 acres from C1, general commercial, to C2, transitional commercial. Any other discussion on this? District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
No.
District 8?
No.
And I vote yes. First reading passes. Item E, first reading ordinance to rezone property located northwest Church Street and North Ridgel Street consisting of 8.85 acres from R1, single family residential, to C1, general commercial. And this is TMS number 007033-02-013. Mr. Luckadoo, if you'd like, or Ms. Pat, if you'd like to introduce this, and then we'll have a motion before we discuss.
I'll go ahead. DD&L Enterprise, with, I believe, the representative, Mr. Jeff Derrick, who's in attendance tonight, has requested to rezone this 8.85 acres from R1 single family residential, it's currently unimproved with no houses on it, to C1 general commercial. Mr. Derrick did express that his reason for requesting the rezoning is that he would like to construct many warehouse storage buildings on the property. The Planning Commission also met March 15th about this one, and they again recommended council approve the rezoning request. And to clarify the location, if you're familiar with Larry Brigham State Farm Insurance Agency on Highway 23, it's just past that on the right. It neighbors that property. It's wooded right now. It's woods at this time.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion to adopt first reading?
So moved.
Mr. Kane, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Mitchell? Any discussion?
I have a concern of the fact that here we go again, plopping a commercial area in the middle of a residential area. And not only that, but 8.8 acres appears to be a lot of land for a storage facility. And my other question is, that's a split piece of property. One part of it is on one side of 23, the other part is on the other side of 23. Is that correct? And according to the current zoning map, the two areas are zoned differently. I offer this zone here.
You're addressing me?
No, Ms. Pat, is it zoned, are the two zoned differently according to this?
Right, but they are one piece of property.
But they are currently zoned differently. We have a split zoning currently.
That small.
I don't, I don't know how accurate these maps are. The other thing I'd like to bring up, of course, is the existence. You're going to put this in the backyard of houses that have been there since the 1950s, residents and so forth. We have concerns about lighting, if it's going to be a lighted area. Our ordinances cover that. And of course, the other is the fact that there is a road between that property and the other properties which could be developed and unfortunately create excess traffic off of Gunner Street. If I may, I'd like to present to council a different map.
That parcel that appears to be a road is actually a piece of what the county is considering no man's land. At one point, that property was included with the property that's before you all tonight. And Mr. Jeff may be able to give you more insight on that. Someone went to the county and indicated that it was a road. And it wasn't a piece of that property, but the county could never find any type of easement, right-of-way, dedication, anything to prove that it was a road. So it's actually just a piece of property that's there that doesn't have a TMS number. But it's not a true, it's literally a piece of no man's land. It doesn't have any TMS number, it's not a road.
But it has to have ownership.
No, well, currently it does not have ownership.
I'm sorry, but all land either defaults to an individual owner or defaults to a government entity.
Well, the county, Mr. Jeff, do you want? He went to the county, and the county will not assign a TMS number to the property, and they will not dedicate the property or deed the property back to. Initially, they were going to deed it to the property that's before you, because of course that would have been easier. They would have just deeded it to one individual. But once someone went to the county and told them that it was a road, then they detached it, but they never attached it to the other property, to the rear property of the others. So if you were to pull it up on the county map, it would not recognize it as a street. It would not recognize it as belonging to anyone. It doesn't have a TMS number. It doesn't have a street number. There's no identification to the property. And it's just...
Mr. Derrick, you want to speak?
Certainly. Mr. Mayor, Councilman, good evening to everyone. My name is Derrick, Jeffrey M. Derrick Jr. I am part owner of the DD&L Enterprise, and we came before the zoning committee a few weeks ago requesting that the property be zoned from R1 to commercial 1. Going back some probably 2009 or 2010, we did a lot of research on that property, the DD&L Enterprise did, and there was a road there. We were told by residents in that area that it was a road. And so we got a tax map. County gave us the road, which was fine. But the partners in the enterprise said, if we sell the property, we got to be upfront with the property. We cannot sell property that don't belong to DD&L. But the county assigned that property to us. I went down to Lexington to the courthouse and had a 3 or 4 years discussion with them about that piece of land. And I told them that the land didn't belong to the DD&L. Well, a couple months later, we found out that the land was 8.5 acres to DD&L, and the no man land was no man's land. The part across the street you were referencing was given to Sunny Swim. If we didn't do our research, Sunny Swim probably would have had the land. So I went back down and we had to tell the folks in Lexington that Sunny Swim didn't own that land. That was part of the partial of the DD&L. And of course, a couple weeks later, they got that straight. Now, you're saying that I think I heard from a councilman that the residents been there a long time. I'm sure all of the land been there a long time, but it's just sitting there. So the DD&L own the land, so it looks like we got control over the land, whether it's on commercial or residential. Sure, if somebody come along and wanted to put a price on it, we'd be happy to sell it. That's no problem. That's probably our main goal is that the price is right, we'll sell it. There wouldn't be no storage buildings. I'll be honest with you, up front. Somebody come along, we'll sell it. But nevertheless, just back to the point about how the land got to 8.5 acres, how the abandoned property got there. Like I said, it's just, I think it was the goodness of the DD&L enterprise, because I think this thing could have went on for years, years, and years, and nobody never would have researched the land. We also did a title search on the land. Went back 95 years, a title search. We spent our own money out of our pocket because we wanted to make sure that we were in order with that piece of property. So, you know what I know, and Lexington County is still sitting there with unabandoned property between Mr. Ringham's office, State Farm, and the DD&L Enterprise office.
Okay. If I may restate what you just said, DDL has no claim on that property and does not intend to place a claim against that strip of land.
Well, we would like to have the strip of land. We've been there years. Oh, I've been there for 2009 to probably 2015. I even got the papers where they even had the land. I got it color coded where they had the land given to the DD&L. And I got the papers when they took the land away from DD&L, which was the right thing to do.
So you're saying that you do not intend to leave a buffer between you and the other properties? And the second issue, of course, is do you have a time frame for these mini storage buildings?
Well, based on what I'm hearing here, it looks like it's not going to get approved, so I don't see a point of trying to get a time frame.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Please don't try to read my mind.
I'm not reading
I don't think that's appropriate. But anyway.
I'm just
do you have any more?
Do we have a time frame?
We don't have a time frame set yet, sir.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure, do we have a time frame or is it going to be approved? So that's what I was trying to answer there to your question.
Mr. Derek, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Any other discussion? Okay, this is
Okay,
Mr. Kane.
did the planning commission make a recommendation that we approve this zone?
That's my son.
Exactly, Pat, yeah.
3-2.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Gambrell?
Who is maintaining that no man's land right now?
No.
Nobody's cutting it or no improvement to whatsoever for 20-some years.
Mr. Spradley?
If I can, because I've looked at this before for the flood. What that road was put in as, whenever that subdivision was put in, those roads were cut in. If you look at it, Collins Street comes straight across and Gunner Street comes straight across. So it's actually on the subdivision plat, which means that it was dedicated as a road. Now, there's nobody keeping it up because nobody's living on it, but the road there.
Does it belong to the subdivision folks?
The land underneath it goes to whoever owns it, but you can't do away with that right of way to that road because it's part of the original
Right.
subdivision plat.
You can have ingress and egress.
Mr. Spradley, you're saying that the town could claim the road and maintain it by planting trees on it?
I'm not saying that. I'd have to do a lot of research to be able to do that part, but from what I've seen and now looking back at it, the roads all match up. So it was part of the original subdivision plat, which is why the county got cut off as no man's land, because it was part of the original plat. And when you put a road on a plat, anybody's done anything around Lake Murray knows the roads ran down to the water. Well, they still run down to the water.
Right.
Because they were on the plat.
Thanks, sir. Any other discussion? Okay, again, this is first reading ordinance to rezone property located at Northwest Church Street in North Ridgeville, consisting of 8.85 acres from R1 to C1. District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
No.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
No.
And I vote yes. First reading passes. First reading the ordinance to rezone multiple properties along Lester Drive. This is TMS number 183-11-01-005. 183-11-02-027. 183-11- we can hold conversation for just a minute, please. 183-11-02-027, 100, and 183-11-02-028. This is going from R1 single-family residential to R1A single-family and manufactured housing residential. Ms. Pat, if you would like to introduce this to us, and then we will have a motion before we begin discussion, please.
Okay, the rezoning request has come forward from Solomon and Valencia Lewis. They're here at present to rezone. What they have is a parcel that there currently was, well, there used to be a home there. And the home was dilapidated. They purchased the property and had the home torn down. And what their desire is, the only difference between R1 and R1A is R1A will allow for manufactured housing. But what they had to do, because there wasn't any R1A currently within that area, they had to come up with a 2-acre requirement. And they got their neighbors, Mr. Frank Bledsoe and his wife, and Sergio and Maria Torres, to allow their property to be included with the rezoning request in order for the 2 acres to take place. Within the paperwork, there's a diagram of the parcels that will be included, and they have a picture of the home. The home will be very similar to what's on this. And the zoning ordinance does require that for manufactured housing, the home cannot be more than 3 years old, and the home has to be brick or block underhand. And it also has to face the street, so that by the time the home is completed, it'll actually look the same as a lot of homes in town that have vinyl siding. Did anyone want to see the picture? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Can I get a motion to adopt first reading?
So moved.
Mr. Hall, do I have a second? Second. Ms. Etheridge? And now, any discussion?
Ms. Etheridge did just ask a question about would there only be one home on the parcel? And according to the ordinance in the residential, well, in the R1 district and R1A, you can only have one principal structure per parcel. So they can only put one home on that parcel.
Thank you.
And it looks like the neighbors are satisfied with this arrangement.
Yes, because she actually had to go to, well, Mr. Frank Bledsoe actually has 2 homes himself, and he allowed both of those parcels to be included. So you won't have to worry about anyone putting something there because they already has 2 homes. And then the property on the other side, the Torres, their daughter, is it the daughter? Their daughter or son lives adjacent. They live right there in the area also. And one of our planning commission members, Mr. Andy Jennings, he's actually, his property is adjacent.
Any other discussion? So this first reading ordinance to rezone multiple properties along Lester Drive. This is from single family R1 to Yes, to R1A, single-family and manufactured homes. District 1? District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 3 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
I vote yes. First reading passes. Item 10, manager's report. Mr. Luckadoo.
All right, good evening, everybody. Got a couple items to go through tonight. I know this was something that I had reported in the weekly report, but I just wanted to put it out to the public in the manager's report. Spring Clean Batesburg-Leesville was a huge success. It held Saturday, March 20th. We had 266 members of our community participate in the event. Our target goal was 200, and we had 266. We had 13 churches and numerous other civic organizations take part. In all, we ended up with 10,960 pounds of garbage collected that day, of which 353 were bags of trash, 95 tires, along with other bulk items that were like mattresses and things like that. And that was in 3 hours of work. So really, really appreciate the community support coming out that day and taking part. There has been a request from people that helped that day to try and do a fall event and to make this an annual event. So that's something we're going to look at doing is twice a year, having a spring and a fall clean based on the success of this one. Staying in the cleaning and recycling category, we are going to host the electronic recycling event on Saturday, April 24th from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock p.m. at Batesburg-Leesville High School. This year, they'll be collecting electronics, obviously. That we will continue with the tire collection that day. Shoes that are in good condition will be accepted, and we will also have paper shredding again. And I know that paper shredding, if that's something people are interested in, earlier is better at this event, as that truck tends to fill up pretty quickly. Moving on, a quick update on the 5-year capital lease purchase. We should be taking delivery this week of 2 of our new vehicles, the new meter reading truck, as well as the new code enforcement truck. All the other equipment and vehicles have been ordered and should be delivered within the next 12 weeks. The only exception to that is the fire chief's vehicle. That one could extend out into the fall based on the manufacturing schedules and just the estimated time to get vehicles. So that one could be extended out much longer. In the project updates, the Pine Street parking, as I emailed council the other day about, DHEC had put a quick halt on our commercial demolition of 155 North Pine Street in the old Jones Jewelry Building. This was due to the fact that we had not pulled, or the contractor had not obtained a $50 commercial demolition permit from DHEC, which we did not know was needed at the time. However, that permit was completed quickly, submitted to DHEC. It has been approved, and the permit was issued today and sent to both us and the contractor. So he's expecting to begin work either tomorrow or first thing Wednesday morning back on that building. The infiltration and inflow study, we have a meeting this Thursday with Fraser Engineering regarding the results of the rain events and the data that was received from the rain gauges and the flow monitors. Once we review the data, they're going to discuss with us their next steps of the study. And once we have all that, we will update in the weekly report this Friday. We had our park input session 2 weeks ago. We had between 20 and 30 citizens attend the public input session here at Town Hall. The engineers were able to talk with these people about the improvements they would like to see. People seemed very pleased with the current concepts as they were, and most people had very little changes to recommend from the current concepts. But we did have some people that went as far as wanting to know what types of trees and what types of grass and different things like that. So some people were certainly more detailed and had more recommendations to offer up. Moving on to the financial update, as you will see, we ended the month of March total for non-utility funds at $1,658,475.22. The total of all of our utility funds ended at $2,946,174.01, and the hospitality tax checking account ended at $693,689.45. One thing to note on the total for all utility funds, we did receive, I had mentioned at the work session that we were awaiting a roughly $234,000 reimbursement from Lexington County on some grant funds. That did come in today, so at this point we would be upwards to around $3.1 million in the utility funds, bringing our total of all funds to $5,298,338.68. The next page, I generally don't go through this one in detail, but this just shows you a March, for the past 5 year, month ending March, comparison of what our funds have done in a side-by-side look. And on the final page, the general fund ended the month of March at 77% on revenue. Just as a point of clarification, each of these should be around 75% at this point in the year, month ending the 9th month. Our operating expenses ended at 75% for the general fund. Our utility fund ended at 78% operating revenues, and operating expenses were at 74%. The Victims Assistance Fund operating revenues are currently at 56%, and operating expenses at 72%. One thing to note about the Victims Assistance, with the fact that we've not been able to have court for quite some time due to COVID, that's the reason why you're seeing a much lower percentage in that category. And the Hospitality Tax Fund is currently at 97% on the revenues and 49% on the operating expenses. That's all that I have.
I have a couple questions for you.
Mr. King?
All right. So I have 4 questions, Mayor. Okay.
Could we keep it to
No,
what's on the agenda?
We got 4 questions on what you
What's
just
on
talked.
the agenda, Mr. King? Somewhere on the agenda, Mr. King? Start now.
Okay, so, now, I understand that everything does not have to be contracted through a written contract, but I would like to see a contract between us and Dale Park for the scope of work that he's doing. And the reason being is because that DHEC thing with the permit, there are little things that can come up that you want to make sure that you memorialize what he thinks he's supposed to do and what the town thinks he's supposed to do. So you don't have a handshake. You have something that's memorialized, signed as a contract for the scope of work. So I'd like to see that if it's not already done. The second thing is, you mentioned hospitality. What how much are you planning to spend on remodeling these parks?
Well,
What's the plan?
That's certainly going to depend on final design and the bid.
What does staff anticipate? We're supposed to be doing a bond, right? You were talking about a bond. So what are we talking about?
I do not have those numbers in front of me.
Well,
at this moment.
come on. We got a bunch of work back there already done.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on what the costs are going to be for these two.
What's the cost of the bond going to be?
Well, that's something that's going to have to be discussed with council. It depends on how much we want to make a payment for.
Right, but what is staff recommendation for the bond? That's not a hard question.
At this point, we are not at a point of having a recommendation on how much a bond is for.
$2 million was not a. Did you?
I'm not prepared to give a number on what staff's
What did you say?
recommendation.
What did you say at the at the work session.
Again, it's gonna be dependent upon how much we're willing to spend on an annual bond payment, and that's something council's gonna have to determine. The annual bond payment's gonna determine how much we can actually go out and bond, so.
Okay, so the work that's showcased around us, this room here, what are you thinking, $10 million?
Again, I don't have that number on top.
Oh, then you have an idea what capital improvements to the park of that scale would be? And my only point is that at some point, we're gonna be asking the citizens to float a bond for parks. And at some point, we need to be thinking about, do we want to spend $10 million to renovate parks at one time? Or do we really want to look at infrastructure so that we can get the water that's going into people's houses to taste good, smell good, look good?
Well, you're talking two different pots of money.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand it's two different pots of money. What I'm saying is the concept and the idea of parks versus infrastructure for clean water. That's what I want you to think about that. The other thing that you talked about in the budget, I want to know where we are with the police budget year to date, and how did they finish last year?
Are you talking about the police budget numbers for this current fiscal year?
Yes.
I do not have those numbers in front of me.
Okay,
And they are posted on the website at this time.
but now, every year, say the last 2 years, the police department is always running a deficit. And I think you explained that by the Poetry Festival, that it costs us like $22,000 in overtime. Correct? Does that?
Yeah, I know the Poetry Festival is generally cost.
Okay. So that should be $44,000 that we didn't have to pay. How do you account for it, or have you accounted for the police department not having to provide security services? You don't have that overtime the last 2 years.
I would say go and look. I can't answer that question.
But we're not expecting them to be running.
And I'm not even prepared to confirm that we've operated in a deficit the past couple of years.
Well, you understand
in
that
the overall police budgets. I don't have that number in front of me.
Right, but you understand that a big part of the explanation for why the police budget was in the situation that it was is because every year we had to pay $20,000 for overtime for the Poetry Festival. We hadn't had Poetry Festival for 2 years. So if you can get that information and get back with me with that, I would really appreciate it. And the final thing that I wanted to touch base with you about is the idea of securing a Tesla for the police department, so that we're starting to move a Tesla, so that we're starting to move and have a low carbon imprint for not only for the police department, for all our vehicles, and even some of our vehicles that for grass cutting and things like that, be battery operated. But I really would like, I know Chief has some information about what it would save us. I think it was like $6,000 a year in gas that electric vehicle like a Tesla would save the town annually. So I would like to see the staff maybe give us a briefing on that at our next meeting, to see what it would cost to buy one, to power it up for the town. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
At this time, it is time for executive session. We have two things this evening: discussion of contractual matters relating to indigent defense services, and discussion of personnel matters relating to the town manager's contract. Do I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Mr. Prowse, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Hall. Any discussion? District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4? District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We are in executive session. Should I get a motion to return for, or do I want to amend this for, I need to come out of executive session?
Make a motion to come out of executive session, Mayor.
Mr. Gamble, do I have a second? Second, Mr. Hall. Any discussion? District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
District 2 votes yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yeah.
District 6?
Yes.
7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We are back in regular session. Quickly, I wanted to correct something on new business in just my statement. I said Board of Planning, but this was actually on item B. It was approval of the Board of Zoning Appeal appointments. If there are no objections, we'll just correct that in the minutes. All right, thank you. Do I have any action items in follow-up to executive session?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Price.
I move that we approve the contract for the indigent defense services as presented to us in executive session.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Etheridge. Any discussion? District 1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
6?
Yes.
7?
Yes.
8?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes. Are there any other motions from executive session?
And that will be beginning April 1st of 2021. Is that everybody's?
April 1st, 2021. Thank you. Potential agenda items for next month's meeting, May 10th. Do we have any motions?
I like to go home.
Second that.
Motion to adjourn, Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
second. By Mr. Gambrell. Any discussion? District 1?
Yes.
2? 3? 4?
Yes.
5?
Yep.
6?
Yeah.
7?
Yes.
8?
Yes.
No, yes, we are adjourned.